Hey everybody, it's Jim Maritato from Extraplasm Podcast, and I'm back with another kitchen counter review, which of course is a low production value review of an awesome high quality toy or collectible. And today we're taking a look at 5 new options from our friends over at Fantazm Toys, including the Grave Little Toaster, a new possessed haunted grandfather clock that's haunted by an actual grandfather known as Oldtimer, the Nasty Entertainment Spirit, which is a haunted version of a retro game console you may have played in your youth, an updated take on the Terror Tub, as well as an updated take on a previously Yes Have Some exclusive figure, Twisted Twister. So let's go ahead and take a look at each of these and find out what they're all about. So let's start things off with the Grave Little Toaster figure and the 2 new accessory pieces that come with it of Possessed Toast that I think are absolutely amazing. And if you're familiar with Fantazm Toys and previous Crypt Creepers line, this may look slightly familiar to you because there was a previous Grave Little Toaster toy that came out, but this is a new design and a sort of total redesign of the figure that updates appearance of it, and I'll show you the difference in a moment. But the probably biggest thing about this figure that's different than the last one is that the previous Grave Little Toaster did not come with accessory haunted toast. This Grave Little Toaster comes with 2 pieces of haunted Crypt Creepers branded toast with different expressions on them. One of them kind of happy, and you can put them right into the toaster, and one of them kind of not so happy, a little more grumpy, not exactly pleased to be here being toast, but I digress. Either way, it's an amazing little tiny toaster that you can put toast into. You couldn't before, and if you're wondering, like, is this different than the previous one? Well, here's how. Here is the old model for the previous Grave Little Toaster that Fantazm Toys put out. I believe that this might have been a one-shot prototype in pink that Tony sent me at some point, but nevertheless, it's the same mold and the same figure that they had previously produced. And as you can see, the new figure is significantly bigger in scale. Of course, it's more detailed, and much like all of the new Crypt Creepers that are coming in the revised Wave 1, it now has eyes that glow in the dark. And while it's very light in here right now, so I can't show you that feature, I assure you it does work quite well. And as you can see, the sculpting here is also more detailed on the back of this than in the original. You've got a cool power plug on the back of it. The old one did have a Crypt Creepers little stamp on it, which was kind of neat, but the new ones don't, and that's totally fine because they've got them in a different spot on the side of the toaster in this case. And so you're still going to find the Crypt Creepers branding tucked away and hidden on these pieces in different places. But in this case, like, I have to say this is a significantly awesome upgrade because if nothing else, like, I love the toast. The toast is like one of my favorite things that Tony and Brendan have done with the new revised line. And if you look at the toast compared to the old toaster, I mean, it's kind of crazy, but like, they're almost the same size. They're pretty damn big. So really cool. Grave Little Toaster, definitely a highlight of the line. And once again, like, Brendan Pierce of Bajucci Studios doing a lot of the sculpting work here, and the art, you can see that the Grave Little Toaster art cards for the back of this are pretty outstanding. Moving on, the second figure in the line we'll take a look at is the haunted grandfather clock known as Oldtimer, and here you can see the Crypt Creepers branding right up here on the top of the figure that's kind of tucked away and hidden for you, and I like this. It's a little more subtle than the old version. And so this is a brand new sculpt. This is something we hadn't seen before, where there was no previous grandfather clock in the line, and of course, again, you see this amazing card art that Brendan did for this figure, which is outstanding up top. These, like I said, all glow in the dark. They all have these glow in the dark eyes on them, and in this case, the grandfather clock has 4. I want to say real quick that this was a figure that got named by fan contest. There were several different options for it. I'm going to say still that I think the best option for this grandfather clock would have been hate o'clock because it's a legitimate phenomenon, and I'm going to continue to disagree about that. But one of my favorite things about this clock that I think is so funny is that if you look, it appears that the clock has ears on each side of its head, which is kind of funny that it not only can sit there and sort of gong away and tell you about the passage of time and use its little tiny bifocal glasses and mustache as the hands on its clock rather than, you know, the little pointy hands, but it also can listen to all your conversations. So it's kind of like a weird, creepy grandfather Alexa, I guess. But it's a really cool design, really cool figure, and a great addition to the sort of Fantazm Toys library of stuff and the Crypt Creepers line overall. Fits really well along with the rest of the stuff that they've produced. Moving right along from Oldtimer is my second favorite figure in this line after the revised toaster, and that's the Nasty Entertainment Spirit. If you're saying to yourself, wow, this looks a lot like a Nintendo Entertainment System gone wrong, that's because it is. And if you look, one of my favorite things about this is that it actually comes with a possessed Crypt Creepers cartridge, and it in fact fits right inside the cartridge slot inside the Nasty Entertainment System, so you can have it on display or you can tuck it away. This is really cool. If you look at the actual sculpt, I'm going to pick it up for a second. There's a cartridge with the Crypt Creepers branding on the top of it, and all of the little features that you would expect out of an old school retro console you might have played as a kid. His hands and arms actually have the controllers blended into them, so he is really a console come to life, if you will, that's going to come to life and haunt you. And it even has all the little ports on the back that you would expect from the sort of retro game console in question. So the nasty entertainment spirit is definitely pretty cool. And again, amazing card art here that Brendan did for this. I have said this over and over again that one of my favorite things about the Fantazm Toys lines and the ways they're presented to people is that these clamshells all open up and close, so you can actually take your figures out, display them, and then put them away or display a mint on card or however you want. Moving along to the next figure in the line is the revised Terror Tub. And for some of you, this may seem somewhat familiar because you remember that Fantazm Toys did a Terror Tub that was inspired a little bit by a previous possessed tub that we all know that had some slime in it. In this case, the Terror Tub here has been revised so that it is almost more like a monster than it is just the possession of slime coming out of a bathtub, which I kind of think is great. There's more of a facial expression here. The old design just kind of was a blob of slime coming out of the tub that seemed haunted and spooky. This time now, our Terror Tub has a clear mouth and eye, and which makes it more like a character that you can interact with and do things with. And again, Brendan's got some amazing card art here that I find fantastic. The Crypt Creepers branding you'll find tucked away on the back of this figure. And last but not least in the line, this is going to be a figure that may seem somewhat familiar to people who are fans of Yes Have Some podcast, because at one point this was a figure that was offered as an exclusive to their Patreon supporters with some slightly different sculpting. It's been revised for sure. My favorite thing about this, the Twisted Twister, if taking a spin on sort of Twisted Sister, is that this is the only figure out of the Fantazm line that I find that spins well, and it fits so well alongside the fact that he's Twisted Twister. The other thing that you can find inside this, if you look carefully, is that the Dorothy machine from the movie Twister has apparently been sucked inside of Twisted Twister. So if you're wondering, is this a reference to something? I mean, kind of. It's kind of like a parody or satire of the Twister movies. And with Twisters coming out, you may want to add this to your collection so that you can have a Twisted Twister of your own. And again, Brendan did some great job with the card art here. So overall, these are some pretty amazing figures and some great new additions to the Fantazm Toys selection. If you're a fan of the Crypt Creepers line previously, you gotta get in on these figures because they are upgrades to things you have and new characters. These new glow-in-the-dark eyes are awesome, and the new play features that have been added really add something to these beyond just being inert figures that sit on a shelf. And of course, they look great with paranormal themed retro figures like the one in the middle here, Mail Fraud. And if you follow his advice, if you go over to phantasmshop.com and you order these, make sure you use promo code Extraplasm so that you don't have to be a victim of mail fraud, and instead you can be a winner of free shipping. I mean, who doesn't want that? So check these out now. Remember, the pre-orders on this end on July 7th, and then it'll be over. You won't be able to get these. So if you're interested, go out and grab them now. And remember, the Mail Fraud figure doesn't come with them. He's just there for bad punnery and scale. But again, if you're a fan of that line, the line he comes from, then these are figures that fit right alongside it, and you should grab them. Okay, so it gives you an idea of what Fantazm has on offer. Go out there, be patriotic, support America and the economy on 4th of July, and spend some money with our friends over at phantasmshop.com.